with special torches for underwater cutting, machine cutting, and cutting pipe and rail. Safety approved everywhere.
This Oxy gasoline cutting torch is unique because it cuts with liquid gasoline instead of propane, acetylene, MAP gases, or other conventional gases. By using gasoline, we are using fuel that has the same energy in 1 gallon as 100 cubic feet of acetylene. This means that the 2.5-gallon tank, which is ASME vessel code, contains the same energy cutting equivalents to a large acetylene tank containing 250 cubic feet. This 2.5-gallon container, loaded, weighs 30 pounds compared to a large acetylene tank, which weighs 250 pounds.
This Oxy gasoline cutting torch is also convenient because gasoline is readily available anytime and any place. And by using gasoline, you never have to wait for a delivery truck. Over the next little while, we'll discuss why this gasoline fuel torch is superior to other torches, the safety of it, and how it is maintained.
When we are finished, you will see why Petrogen Safety Cutting Torch is the most effective torch on the market.
Let us begin by describing the effectiveness of this cutting torch. When it comes to economy, 1 gallon of gasoline replaces 100 cubic feet of acetylene. This is a savings in fuel cost of about 95%. Comparing gasoline to propane, gasoline uses 30% less oxygen. So just to begin with, gasoline is economical, available, and portable. Gasoline is also the safest fuel you can use because liquid gasoline is totally inert and we keep it liquid from the tank all the way to the tip. The torch cannot backflash because the liquid gasoline itself is the best backflash arrestor you can have. The flame stops at the tip and cannot enter the torch. A backflash arrestor is not required on the gasoline line. Besides safety, cost, availability, and portability, how about performance? Well, in the 1-inch range, the torch will cut 20% faster than acetylene. In the 2, 3, and 4-inch range, twice as fast. And in the 10-inch range, 3 times as fast. Plus, it'll do jobs you can't do at all with other gases. The extraordinary cutting ability of gasoline is due largely to an important characteristic of gasoline vapor. Gasoline vapor is 4 times heavier than acetylene gas. It works this way. When the cutting oxygen lever is depressed, the preheat flame is reduced. This results in a preheat flame that suddenly has excess fuel. But this excess fuel finds a new source of oxygen in the high-pressure oxygen jet that comes out of the center hole of the tip. This fuel gets picked up by the oxygen jet and burns down with it. This secondary combustion is limited to about 2 inches with an acetylene flame. But a gasoline flame with 4 times more energy available has a secondary combustion that goes all the way down deep into the steel and cuts it like the hot edge of a long knife blade. When you're finished cutting, you can press your finger on the tip because it's cool. It's cool because the gasoline vaporizes inside the tip, and evaporation is a cooling process. That's the way your refrigerator works. Tip lives are unbelievable. 3 to 4 years if you never puddle up your tip and don't use it as a hammer. Pay close attention to the cuts and see how fast the cuts are. As soon as the steel shows a melt, it's ready for action. Also note the slag. This torch is 100% oxidizing, which means there is absolutely no steel in the slag. Little weight and little heat. Acetylene is only 70% oxidizing, which means that 30% is still molten steel, which will freeze up on anything it lands on. The powerful gasoline flame can jump gaps in steel. Petrogen has cut through 20 layers of 1/4-inch checker plate. No other torch can do this. So you've seen what the torch will do on different steels. Stacked plates, punched holes, and more. Let's look at the gasoline tank. The hand pump goes down deep into the tank. At the bottom, it's sealed off by a small nitrile seal spring-loaded from the back. The plunger has a leather cup with a washer and a nut on each side. The cup should be lightly oiled to keep it soft and maintain compression. An extra pump cup is one of the many parts in the parts kit. Fill the tank at any gasoline station. You fill the tank with gasoline only. No diesel, no gasohol, no oil-gas mixture. You fill to the top weld seam because you need room to pressurize the tank. The filler hole will take any gasoline nozzle. The cap, as you can see, has a groove in the last few threads. The reason for the groove is to release the tank pressure slowly when removing the cap, so that it doesn't blow off suddenly. Also, inside the filler cap, there's a spring-loaded pressure relief valve preset to 30 psi. Should the tank be in a fire, the relief valve will open and prevent any buildup of pressure. As a test, a tank full of gasoline was placed inside a furnace to see if the system worked. While the furnace was lit, the gasoline vapors going past the open relief valve burned off, and when the furnace was shut down, there was still liquid gasoline in the tank. The tank is built to the ASME code for unfired pressure vessels and is included in the safety listing by Underwriters Laboratories. To operate the tank, you pressurize the tank to 20 psi. When the pressure falls to 10 psi, pump back up to 20. You must keep the pressure out of the red zone, which reads up to 10 pounds psi. The reason for this is so the safety features are guaranteed to work. This is very important. Also, if the gauge is broken off, there's a check valve under the gauge that will close and stop the gasoline from coming out. Instead of the hand pump, an air pressure regulator is available. Connect this regulator to a source of compressed air. We recommend an inexpensive air carry tank which you can buy locally or from Petrogen. With this regulator, tank pressure can be held constant at any level. Now, let's take a look at the gasoline shutoff valve in the tank. The gasoline valve is equipped with a fast flow check valve. If the gasoline line is cut at any time, this valve feels a surge in the flow and automatically shuts off the gasoline. It is so sensitive that while opening the gasoline valve, you must open it one turn, wait approximately 30 seconds, then open it slowly until fully open. You might hear the check valve snap shut. If this happens, close the valve completely. Tap the side of the valve with a small wrench or pick up the tank and tap it on the floor several times. That will reset the valve. Then repeat the same procedure to reopen it. As you can see, this is a two-piece tip, the copper outer shell and the brass core. If you look inside the shell, you'll see a small tube. This interlocks with the steel tube on the core. Take the reamer from the toolkit and insert it into the shell. Turn it a few times to remove any carbon that might build up inside the shell. The brass core is cleaned by the small rifle brush from the toolkit or a small utility knife. Use one of the tip drills to ream the center hole. Located in the toolkit is a jack screw, used to remove the mixer which is seated in the torch head below the tip. Insert it inside and screw it all the way down until it bottoms out, and the mixer will pull up. On the mixer, you will see 2 O-rings and 1 bronze wick. The wick helps distribute the fuel evenly around the tip. The O-rings ensure a proper seal in the torch head. A damaged O-ring can cause some flame to form around the tip nut. After this is done, remove the jack screw and insert the mixer back into the torch head, ensuring that the wick is seated properly. Insert tip and tip nut and tighten into place. If you're doing a lot of burning, check the tip nut a few times per day, as the heat that is generated may loosen it. An uncontrolled oxygen leak coming through the tip usually means a broken O-ring in the high-pressure oxygen valve located under the cutting lever. Remove the lever and then remove the valve with the flat wrench from the toolkit. With a screwdriver, unscrew the 2-piece valve and locate the O-ring in the groove of the valve stem. Replace it with a new one from the parts kit. Use the small aluminum ramp for installing the O-ring. Moisten the O-ring for easier installation. The gasoline valve hand wheel is located at the rear of the torch. The valve is a long rod which fits into a seat mounted in the torch head. The packing nut contains the Teflon packing. If it leaks, you can tighten it with the small wrench found in the tool kit. We supply machine torches, rail cutting torches, underwater torches, and pipe cutting torches. Cutting tips range from number 0 to number 8, and heating tips are small and large. There are many more accessories. This chart shows the cutting range of each tip and suggests gasoline and oxygen pressures. The best combination of tip and pressures depends on operator technique, type and size of steel, and desired quality and cutting speed. In every aspect of performance, the Petrogen Torch is superior. Superior in safety. As you can see here, it's impossible to backflash the torch up the fuel line. Cut pipe fast and clean. Grinding is never needed. That's because gasoline burns 100% oxidizing, and there is never any molten steel left to freeze up again on the surface of the cut. Punch deep holes, up to 10 inches. There are 2 reasons for this extraordinary ability. First, the heavy gasoline fuel keeps burning down along the cutting jet. Second, the Petrogen tip can take the heat because gasoline evaporating inside the tip makes the tip a refrigerator and keeps it cool. Speed and power lets the Petrogen Torch cut thick steel up to 3 times faster than acetylene. This 4-inch shaft is being cut in 26 seconds after ignition. A 12-inch shaft is cut in 3 minutes. The Petrogen Torch operates like any other torch, except lighting and adjusting the flame is just a little bit different. Like every other torch, purge the oxygen line by depressing the cutting lever. This clears the oxygen line of any fuel that might have entered while the torch was idle and avoids oxygen backflashing. The Petrogen advantage is that you know the line is clear when the exhaust from the tip is clear. For extra security, you can install an oxygen backflash arrestor, which is optional on all oxy-fuel torches. Open the preheat oxygen valve before you open the gasoline valve. Experience will tell you how wide to open the oxygen. It depends on tip size and oxygen pressure. Now, open the gasoline valve until you see a mist, just like an aerosol spray can. Close the gasoline valve slowly, reducing the mist until it's just visible. Hold the sparker very close to the side of the tip and throw a spark into the stream. Holding the sparker right into the mist will get the flint wet and the sparker won't spark. The next step is to warm the tip. When the tip is cold, the gasoline does not vaporize completely and some of the flame is yellow. The tip must be warmed so that all the gasoline vaporizes inside the tip and burns blue. As you can see, the tip warms itself by just holding it steady in the air. The faster and better way to heat the tip is to press it against some steel at a small angle and let the reflected heat warm the tip in about 4 or 5 seconds. Notice the orange rays of flame spreading out from the tip. Adjust the oxygen and gasoline so that these rays are about 2 to 3 inches long. The result is a flame that is very close to a good adjusted flame. Don't worry about a backflash. The Petrogen Torch cannot backflash up the fuel line. Unlike all other torches, the Petrogen Torch does not need a backflash arrestor on the fuel line. Here's a close-up of what an adjusted flame looks like. In this picture, the core of the flame looks white, but it is really a deep blue core about 1/4 inch long and shakes just a little bit. The core is surrounded by a very light umbrella of flame. The Petrogen Oxy Gasoline-Torch System, available in 5 lengths, 3 head angles, with special torches for underwater cutting, machine cutting, and cutting pipe and rail. Safety approved everywhere.